The Ministry of Higher Education Malaysia, in collaboration with the Ministry of Tourism and Culture through Tourism Malaysia, took another step forward in its effort to promote Malaysia on a global stage by launching the Malaysia 101 Edutourism package in conjunction with the Higher Education Week Malaysia. This strategic partnership enables the public higher education institution to assemble and introduce educational tour packages to the public and the international community, so as to provide a more holistic education in line with the concept beyond a degree that will enable them to plan trips in the country. According to the Deputy Minister of Higher Education, Datuk Mary Yap Kah-In Ching, said the initiative is an important strategy for developing human capital that is knowledgeable, skilled, creative and innovative in the sector of tourism, and tourism packages is part of the government's effort to identify and gather products that are available for the public. Total income from foreign tourists for 2014 was 72 billion alone, an increase of 6 billion or 10% compared to 2000. And I believe that the Malaysia 101 Edutourism packages offered by public universities such as UiTM, UPM, UTM enhance the national tourism.
Okay, as we know that the public university in Malaysia are actually going towards the QS university ranking in order to improve their research university to get the highest QS ranking and try to have their research university in order to improve their capability of citation and publication as a reference journal, and it will increase more the income for the government, since when the university of the local university are improving, they will attract or other international students to come to our country and to learn and become a student in our country. And as they came to our country, and the fees that will be paid by them is more increased, so it will increase the government income. And the university in our country are actually improving days by days. And for as we know, UM as our first university actually going towards the 433 ranking as a QS world ranking from 146, and the other QS top 3 QS university in Malaysia is UTM, UKM and UM.
The Malaysian government recognized the importance of education as a critical asset of the nation. RHB Research Institute Neighborhood Analyst Alexander Chia said the education was poised for growth and remained as one of the most critical drive for Malaysian transformation. At tertiary education level, Malaysia Ministry of Higher Education, which known as MOHE, was the governing authority overseeing higher education institutions, including public and private institutions, polytechnic and community college. According to MOHE, there were over 20 public institutions, 49 private institutions, 27 polytechnic and 95 community college across the country. Other agencies involved in tertiary education under the MOHE include Malaysian Qualification Agency, which known as MQA, and the National Higher Education Fund Corporation, which known as PTPTN. MQA is responsible for monitoring and overseeing the quality assurance practices and accreditation of national higher education institutions, and at the same time, ensuring these institutions follow many of the procedure and standard established by Lembaga Akreditasi Negara, which is LAN. Malaysia is currently the 11th largest exporter of education globally. With this in progress, foreign students in Malaysia rose at CAGR of 42% between 2003 and 2011. To encourage more foreign students to Malaysia, the government had recently Ministry of Higher Education aspired to triple the foreign student enrollment to 200,000 by the year 2020.
Alright, so the first role of government is government want to attract more international students to further their study in our local university. So this is a good, so each of university they have to create their own income activities so that they can generate more revenue for their university and also for the government. So for examples like UPM, they had introduced EduPark in their university to attract more international students to further their study in UPM. So it is a good effort made by the UPM. Besides, UPM can also generate their own income based on their own activities had been done, like EduPark. This is because years by years the budget allocated for local university had been reduced because government cannot sustain to continue funding for the local government. So it is a good effort for the university to create their own income. Besides, when there are a lot of international students further their study in our university, in our country, it will generate the income because the fees for the international student is higher than local students. So it will give more, it will contribute more income for the government.
Basically, the university creates knowledgeable citizens. High income and developed country will eventually attract international students to come to Malaysia, which will give a positive impact and income for the country. When international students came to Malaysia, it gave a great experience to local students, which they can interact, communicate, and be friends with them. Back in 1990s, it is very hard and very limited to attract and to interact with international students. But now, the opportunity are bigger and greater. Experience among 140 countries that international students came to Malaysia. It means that local students can interact every day, every week, 24/7 with international students in Malaysia. The higher education is one of the branch that contribute the income of the country. One of the government initiative is maintaining quality and keep improving local university in Malaysia. It is in order to compete with United Kingdom, United States of America, and Australia University. Government also are not afraid to take the action. Rather, it is to prove that Malaysia can be like them or even much better. Public universities such as University Kuala Lumpur, UniKL, International Islamic University Malaysia IIUM are recognized by international university. So the journal and article research studies used as a references by international university that shows that Malaysia university have the same standard with other international university.
Malaysia have the most number of British universities across the country. For example, Newcastle University Medicine Malaysia in Gelang Patah, Johor, British Malaysian Institute and University of Nottingham Malaysia in Semenyih, Selangor. The UK government have trust with Malaysia as the UK government have opened up 5 branch of education institution in Malaysia. 1,000 program training established between UK and Malaysia being operated in Malaysia. Back in February 2016, Kuala Lumpur have been chosen as the most affordable city to study in the world. Kuala Lumpur City Hall promoting Kuala Lumpur as a city of education. Kuala Lumpur are moving forward, same goes like Iskandar Malaysia in Johor that claim to be an education city. Effort done by the ministry, local council and state government because they see the importance of higher education as the one of the tourism product. On the same time, Malaysia getting the title of world class based on the QS ranking. There are 4 universities that have been in ranking league for the world-class university such as UPM, UKM, UTM and also UM.
Okay, the third point of our rural government, the government established the Malaysia Education Blueprint 2015 until 2025. So, the blueprint as a development approach to upgrade the higher education, and it also to achieve the student aspiration and the standard of high level education. Higher education come up with the 10 outline as address key performance issue in the address key performance issue in address to in system, particularly with regard to quality and efficiency as well as global trend that are disrupting the higher education landscape, which is the first outline is a holistic entrepreneur and balanced graduate is to enhancing the student performance. The next is talent excellence. The talent excellence is to provide the best practice guideline. And the third outline is a nation of lifelong learners, to creating a framework for reorganizing prior learning. The fourth is quality technical vocational education and training, which is to enabling industry to lead curriculum design and delivery. The fifth is financial sustainability, is to improving the funding formulate for public, and the sixth empower governance, to strengthening quality assurance in the private sector. The seventh outline is innovation ecosystem, focusing on creating skill and growth. Outline is for global prominence, is collaborating with other ministry and agency. The eighth is a globalized online learning, is to making online learning in integral component. And the lastly is transform higher education delivery, to restructuring the ministry organization. And the first 4 shift outline is more focusing on outcome for the key stakeholders in the higher education system, including students in academic and technical vocational education training pathway. So the academic community as well as all mentioned participating in lifelong learning. And the remaining 6 focus on enabling for higher education system, covering critical components such as funding, governance, innovation, internationalization, online learning and delivery.
The last point is suitable program that enhance the student skills and expertise. Example of the program is International Debate in UiTM. That program will be more marketable in their future jobs and also will help them to get a comfortable jobs. That program help the students to gain skills in communication, teamwork and problem solving. Besides, graduates must be on top of the basics, which is essential skills in competencies. So they need to show employers that they have mastered essential skills such as ability to work under pressure. Good communication is two-way, and graduate job hunters need to show that they can listen as well as speak out.
in order to increase our national education sector to international level, there are many challenges have faced by government in order to achieve their targets. There need to be institutional level supports and management of quality enhancements through dedicated officers or senior appointments. Together, this will allow for evaluation and feedback processes to be managed of the course level and coordinated at the institutional level, keeping mind in to seek, ask and report on feedback to and from students. The trajectories of students into higher education and out of higher education are highly influential in shaping their perspective. The question of what is quality or good about a particular institution should those be framed within the contingent questions of what a student is looking for in an institution, which may or may not be academic reputations. Whatever the institutional type, institutions need to develop a community and help students transition into it. Staff need to be supported by their institutions to provide the interaction and guidance that is important to students. Across the sector, there needs to be a focus on how students can enhance their employability within, related to and beyond their course. Students are investing significant amounts of time and money in their education and expect institutions to do the same. At the same time, students need to be held responsible for their role in the institution, and further opportunities for students to engage should be encouraged. There is much work to be done across the higher education sector to support students, staff, institutions in this endeavour, working with not for students. Just now we talked about our student perceptions towards our national education in Malaysia. Let's move to public perceptions toward our national education sector. Most of our public perceptions is more to our vocational education and training, which is short form TVET in Malaysia. Most of the public said that vocational education and training is not suitable in Malaysia and not valuable to our students. It is because there are unemployment among their students. But however, the perceptions towards technical and vocational education and training in Malaysia has improved over the past few years and is no longer seen as a last option in career choice, says Khairi Jamaluddin.
Next is globalization. Globalization can be defined as the process of promoting greater movement of people, goods, capital and ideas due to increased economic integration, especially in the form of trade and investment, as they manifest in the effort by many countries to remove trade and travel barriers. In many respects, globalization is not totally a new phenomenon, as people have been interacting economically and academically, socially and politically with each other from great distance from centuries. In today's globalization era, knowledge is increasingly a commodity that moves between two different countries. The growth of the knowledge-based economy had led not only to competition among employees worldwide for the best brain, but also among the institutions that train the best brain. One of the dramatic changes in the private higher education in Malaysia in recent years, had been to adopt the higher education of foreign development nations. By this adaptation, many foreign campuses have been set up to cater for a vast majority of local students and some international students. Malaysia is then viewed as an educational hub by foreign partners who are keen to work closely with private education institutions for a win-win solution. Education are more particularly highlighted as the higher education are seen as the major foundation in implementing the complex process of globalization, With the advent of globalization, advanced information technology and increased transnational travel, higher education services have already been expanding beyond territorial boundaries, either electrically or through physically based campuses. Exporting higher education services emerged in the late 1980s and early 1990s and is now becoming more global, market-oriented and private industry prevailing not only among those developed countries but also in the Asia-Pacific region. For instance, Australia and Singapore have already established their international network by setting up international academic offices and collaborating with partner institutions to attract more overseas students or foreign students to study in their own countries. Australia is now the third largest provider of education to overseas students in the world after the USA and the United Kingdom. Higher education has moved from the peripheral to the central position in the responses of the government to globalization. It is a key factor in the developing countries. It is undoubtedly viewed as crucial to the developed countries, as illustrated in the number of chapters in a book pointed out that all universities are subject to the same processes of globalization, partly as object, victim event, and these processes, but partly as subject or key agent of globalization. In fact, policies and globalization of higher education have been moving toward the rising ASEAN populated countries such as India, China, and our own country, Malaysia. Asia will dominate the global demand for international higher education for the next 2 decades. In forecasting global demand for international higher education, found that the global demand for higher education is poised to grow enormously. The demand is forecast to increase from 1.8 million in 2000 to 8.5 million international students in 2025. Education is seen as a key vehicle to increase the wealth of individuals and the economic well-being of society. Malaysia is a dynamic example for trying to understand the changes that are taking place worldwide within the across segment of the higher education.
So as for the conclusions, actually the government should fund the tertiary educations to reach out more citizens and actually to ensure they have the necessary knowledge and skills to enter the workforce. Actually this will turn into the lot of its peoples. Actually, education was institutionalized to formalize the process of knowledge, acquisitions, and research in man's quest for understandings. And some of the earliest universities in the University of Mankind, such as Al-Azhar in Egypt, Cambridge, and Oxford in the United Kingdoms, the contrast largely from the role of universities to the institution of human capital accreditations, qualification, and most unfortunately business and profit. Our societal and economic progression or digressions does not actually depend on only one factor, but actually on the interaction of the economic, social and political factors over a long period of time. Education is far too important for us to risk any mismanagement, oversight and understanding. And the nation that go through a robustly managed equality of education system actually will ultimately decide Malaysia's directions and society that we will live in. Only then we can fundamentally assure that all layers of society can enjoy a high income nation. Not just the top 1%. Okay, let's reflect what actually the Nelson Mandela has just said. For a better nation, actually education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change the world. That's all from me. Thank you.